Welcome back, champions, to the very first episode of season 2 of the Performance Prescription Lab podcast. I'm Nilhan, and alongside me is Jessica. Jessica, say hi.
Hello, everyone.
We are your co pilots in your journey to unlocking peak performance through the lens of two sports pharmacists. As clinical sports pharmacists, our mission in season 2 remains consistent. We would like to equip athletes and healthcare providers with the latest science-backed insights for achieving optimal athletic health and performance. Today, we will explore nootropics in the context of cognitive enhancement, a topic that resonates with every athlete's dream of having mental strength. Before we jump into nootropics, we would like to start a new tradition in this season and would like to share exciting news from the athletic world. So, 2024. This is the year of Paris Olympics and Paralympics, which we will be dedicating August, the entire month, to cover in our podcast. So, save the dates or save the months. And Paris Games have several firsts this year, which we find really, really exciting. And the first is that in Olympic and Paralympic Games in 2024, new disciplines will make their appearance. In addition to climbing, skateboarding, and surfing, which had their grand premieres in Tokyo 2021, Paris 2024 Olympics will include breakdance among its sports. Yes, I've seen interesting athletes, and I'm really looking forward to watch the breakdance competition because I think in its nature, it's a competitive manifestation of dancing. So I'm really curious to explore that sport, and we hope our listeners would find it interesting. And the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, also unveiled 8 other new events. 3 related to sailing, kite surfing, that's my sport. So I'm very exciting. 470 and offshore sailing. And there are 2 related to canoeing and a new women's weight class in boxing, skeet shooting, as well as an athletic event replacing 50 kilometer. That's also mixed too. Will also be part of the lineup. So more sports to watch, more ways to explore new sports and athletes. So we are super excited. And there is another first that Jess is very excited to share with our listeners.
So I think you can see from all the new events, and there are now mixed sports, it's no coincidence that Paris will also be the first gender equal Olympic and Paralympic Games.
Oh,
which hooray, that's so exciting. And I think it's really interesting because in the 1900s, the Paris Olympics was the first Olympics in history in which women were actually invited to participate. And there was 22 women out of 997 athletes at the time. So now that the fact we've managed to go to gender equal, I think is super cool. So another first for the Paris Olympics.
Yeah, that's great. But it's also weird that it took so long.
Correct.
to get to this. But it's a success. So we will be very excited to watch women and men equally represented in the games.
Yes.
So we are ready to dive into our topics. We are going to be sharing news in the beginning of each episode, the news that we find exciting. So this year is Olympics, and we were very excited to hear this first. And now let's dive into our topics. I mentioned mental strength. Athletes are in the quest to get mentally stronger, tougher, and nootropics come into place in that sense. So how do you define mental strength, Jess?
So I think mental strength can be defined in 2 different ways. One is like the ability of the individual or the athlete to deal with stressors, challenges, and pressures and still present their best performance in spite of circumstances. So is it a big game? Is like the refs not in your favor? Is it raining? Different things like that. But I also think that mental strength comes as the ability of an athlete or someone to regulate their emotions and maintain a sense of control, even in in a sense of adversity. So in essence, I think mental strength is the capacity to persevere, remain optimistic, and stay focused on one's goal despite setbacks and obstacles.
Yeah,
How
that's a
would
great
you
definition.
define it?
Well, I mean, you defined it perfectly. I wouldn't add anything specific to that, but we speak about mental strength for athletes. In my opinion, it's for everyone and
Yes.
anyone trying to keep up with modern life, because there are lots of input coming into our lives that is our control. And in the context of being athletes, that comes to a different level, because you also have the goals that you have to become successful, you have to be ready and recovered for the next game, etc. Even as an amateur athlete myself, sometimes I'm also realizing the importance of mental strength to become a successful athlete. Doesn't mean that I'm the first in the competition, but I'm constantly improving. So
Yeah.
in my
I love that.
opinion, that comes from a mental strength perspective. So we hope that all the listeners, the audience is going to grasp how they can improve their mental strength for their successes. So we want to talk about the nootropics, which can support mental strength through enhancing cognitive functions and through other mechanisms. We know that the supplement market is flooded with products claiming to enhance memory, creativity, and decision making. We want this episode to be your roadmap in understanding how nootropics work for athletic health and performance. And we want to provide a scientific overview of several nootropics available in the market that have potential to revolutionize the way athletes think, react, and excel. Our fan base would know that we love kicking things off with crash courses. So I'm going to hand over to my co-pilot, Jess, again for Nootropic 101, your comprehensive guide to understanding these cognitive enhancers. Over to you, co-pilot.
Thank you. And welcome to Nootropics 101 on the Performance Prescription Lab podcast. This is one of our favorite parts of how this podcast has developed, is this 101, to give you guys a good background. So diving deeper into the fascinating world of nootropics, which some people call smart drugs, these are substances, whether natural or pharmaceutical, have captivated minds for their potential to enhance memory, cognition, motivation, and creative capacity. Coined back in the 1970s by a Romanian psychologist, the term nootropic combines the Greek word nous, which means thinking, to tropin, which means guide. Now, the pressing question: can nootropics truly elevate athletic performance, even as their primary function centers around cognitive enhancement? To this question, the answer is yes. Considering competitive sports is deep in a mental game. After all, many athletes, the mind games before a game day are just as important as the actual physical functions involved in executing plays and scoring goals. However, not all neurotropics are created equal when it comes to enhancing athletic performance. But because there are many different types of neurotropics, the exact mechanisms of how they work vary greatly. Some augment cognitive benefits working through various mechanisms. While these substances do not directly release neurotransmitters or act as receptor ligands, instead, they enhance the brain's supply of glucose and oxygen. They exhibit an anti-hypoxic effects. They shield the brain from neurotoxicity and positively influence neuronal protein and nucleic acid synthesis. But that's not all. Some neurotropics combat oxygen-free radicals, demonstrate an anti-aggregation effect, and enhance erythrocyte plasticity while promoting and improving blood flow to the brain. It's crucial to note that the effects of most neurotropics aren't immediate. Consistent use over extended a period of time is required for lasting changes. Categorizing these compounds isn't straightforward either, with different authors and studies employing different distinctions. Some differentiate between classical neurotropics and those enhancing brain metabolism, while others opt for more cognitive effects. The U.S. Department of Defense Dietary Supplement Program they categorize them into two subtypes, dietary supplements and pharmaceuticals. So that's where we're going to kind of go today, is talking about dietary supplements first and then some pharmaceuticals.
That was an efficient crash course, as always. Thank you. Now we know how nootropics work. Let's explore how they actually help athletes.
Yeah.
And sport-specific applications. So there are plenty of sport-specific applications of nootropics that can help benefit athletes. The first of which is brain protection. They help maintain and renew brain cells that may facilitate normal brain aging. Then it provides stress resistance. Nootropics play a part in regulating brain signals and combat stress. So they may improve athletes' performance, helping them remain calm and focused during competition. The next one is cerebral blood flow, the brain blood flow. Some nootropics can promote blood flow to the brain, and the additional oxygen supplied enables glucose, our fuel, to be converted to energy and the brain to perform better in, for example, competitions. And the next one is nootropics modulating a series of neurotransmitters in our bodies. These are, for example, dopamine, adrenaline, noradrenaline. These are responsible for our mood, emotional state, and drive. We all know that health levels and functioning of these neurotransmitters can be key to our athletic performance, and nootropics are modulating them. And the next one is energy and stamina. Effective nootropics improve energy and stamina by naturally enhancing the brain and body's natural energy synthesis pathways. Athletes must avoid fatigue, as it is a real biological event that lowers the ability to concentrate effectively. By improving cellular energy (ATP) production and increasing circulatory oxygen flow, nootropics may safely improve athletic stamina and diminish fatigue, while also promoting a healthy anabolic metabolism. This is what athletes are mostly looking for. Learning is going to be my next one. Athletes must mentally process their roles and move to other players' roles and locations. So it has to be agile. And to pull this off, athletes practice their moves until they become unconsciously ingrained into their performance. Otherwise, they throw themselves off by over-analyzing each movement. So this may take you away from the game. By strengthening their cognitive capacity for task-related information processing or basic working memory, athletes may better focus on their respective roles without internal and external distractions. So how good is that? These are super key benefits of nootropics for athletes. Have I missed any, Jess? Anything that you would like to add?
I would say that I would also add motivation. Whether due to like brain burnout or nutritional deficiency, nootropics may help improve motivation by increasing catecholamine activities, which catecholamines, as you talked about a little bit earlier, are neurotransmitters like dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine that are key to helping us sustain mood and motivation. They also enhance energy efficiency, and it's related to, again, what you shared earlier, by energy boosting nootropics that may ward off brain burnout and fatigue. So you have ongoing better mood and more motivation. And then the last thing I would add would be attention. In sports, it relies on reflexes or concentration, and nootropics can also help provide a competitive edge by enhancing these abilities to kind of focus your attention. So I'd say nootropics come with a huge set of benefits, but as sports pharmacists, it's our role to make a complete risk-benefit analysis for each and every medicine or compound that may go into our patient athlete's body. Are they effective? Are they safe? Is there any risk for testing positive on a doping test? So let's answer these questions.
Yeah, that's how our brain works usually. And speaking about the efficacy of nootropics, it varies. Some have well-documented effects, while others have more anecdotal evidence. Athletes, however, must be very careful with what they take. Some nootropics are not approved for human use, or they are banned by WADA, or other anti-doping organizations such as USADA, or they are in the WADA monitoring lists. Basically, WADA watches the use of certain medicines or compounds over time to identify if they bring any doping-related risks or any performance-enhancing effects, so that this may be added to the list according to this analysis. Some nootropics are also categorized under non-approved substances in WADA's prohibited list as well. Of course, being a prohibited or non-prohibited substance usually is relevant for professional athletes, but we also recommend recreational athletes to watch carefully, because doping doesn't always mean it's just performance enhancer. It can also be harmful to your health. So any athlete should try to compete clean for their health and longevity in their athletic journey. So focusing on professional athletes, if you are, for example, in a doping control pool, for example, you're competing in Olympics, in major leagues, tennis, or UFC, these nootropics may be prohibited in these sports. Natural nootropics, on the other hand, are not banned from sport. However, from several studies, we know that natural nootropic supplements may contain unlisted, unauthorized, or prohibited substances to make them work. For example, higenamine is a prohibited substance which can be found in pre-workout, weight loss, and thermogenic supplement. So if you think that it really, really works on you suddenly, there is the risk that it may have, it's an adulterated product. So be careful. And remember, professional athletes are fully responsible for what they take in their bodies. Before starting a new supplement regimen or using any medicine, always consult your physician or pharmacist or your national anti-doping organization to understand whether you are risking any doping violation. And for those who do not get tested for doping, they are risky to your health. So make sure you use third-party tested, trusted products, such as those on Informed Sports or, for example, Cologne list. There is also the US versions of this list, but still these lists cannot guarantee doping-free and safe use. We are going to come back to this topic at the end of this episode again, once we cover each nootropic. So athletes compete clean, and they are going to understand how they can benefit from nootropics, cognitive enhancing benefits. And what about your thoughts on nootropics efficacy and safety, Jess?
Yeah, so according to a recent literature review in Nutrients, there was evidence that the long-term safety and efficacy of many nootropics is lacking, and more research on actual healthy individuals is needed. In general, nootropics are actually very well tolerated. Their efficacy depends on the size of the dose, and in practicing, I see many administering too low of a dose as a common mistake. Most nootropics do not have an immediate effect after a single dose, so therefore the long-term use is necessary to achieve their desired results. However, the long-term impacts on healthy individuals is still relatively unknown. While research suggests that nootropics are usually well tolerated, since the substances in nootropics are so wide-ranging, so are their side effects. So some potential side effects of nootropics can range anything from mild headaches to severe side effects such as cardiovascular issues. There's a risk of dependence and addiction with certain nootropics, drug interactions, unknown long-term use, and then, as you covered, contamination or the risk of banned substances. There are also different nootropics that can be contraindicated in people with certain conditions or who are taking certain medications. Again, make sure you consult your physician or your sports pharmacist. And as always, nootropics should be avoided if you're pregnant or breastfeeding. So let's go through some commonly used natural nootropics found in dietary supplements. The goal is to create an ongoing ideal state of focus, drive, and calmness off and on the competitive field for athletes. So as we talk about these, we're considering the whole person. Remember, nootropics are most effective when combined with our favorite pillars of health, exercise, sleep, and well-balanced nutrition. So, Nilham, you want to start with our first neurotropic?
Yes, very excited.
Yay!
I'll start with my favorite. The chemical name is 1,3-and-7-3-methylxanthine. This chemical boosts many aspects of cognition by improving alertness. It is also associated with improved athletic performance in appropriate dosage. You might ask, what is 1,3,7-3-methylxanthine? I use the fancy chemical name to start, but it is our old friend, caffeine.
Woohoo, caffeine!
I love that we started with caffeine to our first episode of our second season, because we dive in depth into caffeine in our first episode of season 1. So we are repeating the tradition somehow, but we just want to touch on it here again because it's our first nootropic. It is the most widely consumed psychoactive stimulant globally, and it is found naturally in coffee beans, cacao beans, unroasted ones, kola nuts, tea leaves, and yerba mate, and synthetically in energy drinks, gums, snacks, and over-the-counter medications. It's an adenosine receptor agonist, and this means it blocks some brain receptors that make you sleepy. So that's how it takes the drowsiness away. Numerous studies have shown caffeine's ability to enhance cognitive performance, especially in tasks that require sustained attention, and also increase alertness and attention. Research indicates that caffeine can improve performance on simple and complex attention-related tasks in healthy adults, and it has cognitive enhancing properties, including mood and concentration. The FDA recommends limiting caffeine intake to 400 milligrams. This is around 4 to 5 cups of coffee a day per adults, but this amount can lead to adverse side effects and impacts on sleep. So I started with that this has to be used within the appropriate dose range. This is very differentiating from person to person. So test yourself and see whether how much caffeine and coffee is good for you or not. For young adults and youth, use of caffeine is not recommended. So we really think this is only for adults. And caffeine may have negative side effects because of the dosage, or it's just how it's metabolized in your body. It can create insomnia, jitters, increase heart rate. Too much of it can also cause anxiety, dehydration, and dependency. All of these can hinder performance. So dose is very important. Here is where our next nootropic comes into play.
Yeah. So the next one is actually one of my favorites that I like to recommend.
It's my favorite too.
It's yours too? I didn't know that. Yay! I love it. So we're talking about L-theanine. So L-theanine is a nootropic on its own, but it also can be very beneficial when used with caffeine. And I hope listeners find this really intriguing and helpful. So L-theanine is a popular relaxing amino acid sourced from green tea leaves with a unique calming effect while simultaneously boosting focus while reducing anxiety. I think that's why we all love it. Mm-hmm. Unlike other anxiolytic compounds, L-theanine calms without sedating the mind to the point of cognitive impairment. Rather, the compound actually seems to increase focus even when it's not stacked with a stimulant such as caffeine. One study suggests that L-theanine significantly affects the general state of mental alertness and arousal. In a small study in 2019, published in Nutrients, they examined the effects of L-theanine supplementation in healthy individuals. They gave 200 milligrams daily for 1 month. Participants experienced reduced stress-related symptoms like depression and anxiety, as well as improved sleep quality, cognitive functions, including executive functioning, which is really important. And then there was another study in 2017 that found 200 milligram dose of L-theanine improved relaxation, reduced tension, and increased feelings of calmness. L-theanine combined with caffeine is also found naturally in green tea, which helped with attention switching task and alertness. However, when paired with caffeine, the duo seems to enhance cognitive performance beyond what each compound may accomplish on their own, which I think is really, really amazing.
Yeah.
So this is one time I actually will tell people to use them together. Usually I'm a one supplement or another, but this is one where I actually have a lot of people using together. And one study observed that the combination of L-theanine and caffeine seemed to help focus attention during a demanding cognitive task at roughly a 2-to-1 ratio of L-theanine to caffeine. So in like layman's terms, if you took 200 milligrams of L-theanine, you would want to pair that with 100 milligrams of caffeine. So that's a 2-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
And another study examined the combined effects of L-theanine and caffeine on cognitive performance and mood. This study aimed to see if there would be any difference in cognition and mood between 50 milligrams of caffeine with 100 milligrams of theanine versus just 50 milligrams of caffeine. The effects of the treatment were on word recognition, rapid visual information processing, critical flicker fusion threshold, attention switching, and mood were all compared to the placebo in the 27 participants. And they found that caffeine plus L-theanine improved performance on cognitively demanding tasks, specifically visual processing and attention switching. So you can see how this would be important to athletes too, because you're constantly processing information and switching what's going on while you're playing the sport. So I think this is what makes it a great neurotropic for athletes that want the extra boost of focus and energy to perform their best without the jittery side effects of caffeine alone. Not all athletes favor caffeine as a pre-workout compound for a good reason. And caffeine is not a general and cognitive enhancing neurotropic, although it's hard to deny the reliable energy boost that follow a quick caffeine jolt. Pairing caffeine with L-theanine may help limit the stimulant jitters side effects while boosting energy and focus. So one of my favorite combos. But I will go on to our next neurotropic, which many of you may be less familiar with, but I think this one is a really cool one for a neurotropic. So Nilham, what's the next one?
Yes, the cool one is Bacopa Monieri.
So fun to say.
Yeah. I just like to say it. I'm going to say it a few times. Bacopa Monieri, it's also known as Brahmi, has been traditionally used in the Ayurvedic medicine for cognitive enhancement and stress adaptation. While it's known for its potential nootropic effects, research on its direct impact on physical performance in athletes is not as extensive. So we are trying to reflect what is may be helpful for athletic performance. Bacopa Monieri, I said it again, works by decreasing stress hormone cortisol levels and increasing neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine in the brain. This can help improve focus, memory, mood, and cognition. Active ingredients in Bacopa extracts have been shown to improve cognitive function and psychological state, making them potentially useful for sports performance enhancement. Bacopa may have neuroprotective effects too, and researchers are studying this herb for its potential in treating Alzheimer's disease, for memory enhancement in those with memory issues and individuals with a family history of Alzheimer's disease. 340-400 milligrams taken daily for several months is necessary to see its benefits. It can be consumed as a dietary supplement in a capsule, powder, or in extract forms. Standardized Bacopa Monieri extracts, which has 20% content of bacosids A and B, these are the active compounds, 300 to 400 milligrams in divided doses for adults is recommended. Please note the standardized term here because the supplement should be containing the stated amount of its active ingredients according to its label. It has to be high quality without contamination of toxic or banned ingredients. So make sure you are an informed customer, patient, athlete when you are trying to get Bacopa supplement for you check out these doses and the active ingredients content. No serious side effects have been reported. Rarely, mild sedation or digestive problems may occur after ingestion. So nothing new on a race day. Always try these on a training day to see whether you face any side effects. And Jess is going to cover our next supplements briefly. Ashwagandha and Rhodiola is coming up next. We did a whole episode in season 1. We recommend checking out episode 5 for more in-depth information, but we couldn't be skipping this episode without touching Ashwagandha and Rhodiola. What would you like to share to our listeners, Jess, about Ashwagandha and Rhodiola?
I find it interesting, first off, side note, that this was our number 1 episode, Ashwagandha and Rhodiola. So I'm going to touch on them just a little bit, but really please dive into episode 5 to get all the information on these awesome nootropics. So ashwagandha is a traditional Ayurvedic herb, which is a form of ancient Indian medicine. It's traditionally used to relieve inflammation, to improve sleep, boost the immune system, and give you a balanced state of stress and help control cortisol. So a study done in 2001 showed that ashwagandha not only helps with stress, but athletic performance as well. The plant's root extract was given to 50 healthy individuals who were put into 2 groups, those taking ashwagandha and those that were in the placebo group. The ashwagandha group took 300 milligrams twice a day for 8 weeks. The maximum aerobic capacity, so VO2 max, which is an indicator of cardiorespiratory endurance, was then measured. The study found that compared to the placebo group, those that took ashwagandha saw a significant increase in VO2 max levels and thus better cardiorespiratory endurance. This is just one of many studies out there to show the benefits of ashwagandha. But like Nilham said, huge episode 5, but we can't go an episode on nootropics without touching base on them. The other one is Rhodiola rosa. The herb Rhodiola rosa is an adaptogen. And an adaptogen is an herb, plant, or mushroom that helps the body respond to stress. It promotes improved energy, mood balance, and enhanced brain function. Rhodiola may also help with anxiety, fatigue, and depression. In 2022, there was a literature review in Molecules, which found evidence that Rhodiola rosa helps increase the body's response to physical and mental stress. By tackling stress and fatigue, Rhodiola rosa works as a performance enhancer for both the body and the brain. Nothing affects mental performance and physical performance quite like stress. I think all of us can definitely agree with that. This applies to non-subjective terms of stress also, which when intensely motivated athletes overwork their bodies to their breaking point. For these athletes, hormonal stress and oxidative stress negatively impact their performance, even in the absence of subjective stress. So most of us think like tons of stuff on our plate, but working out heavy, oxidative stress, hormonal stress, all of this accumulates for the athlete. So by reducing stress hormone cortisol levels, Rhodiola rosa may significantly enhance and protect athletic performance against the harmful effects of high intensity training. One thing I do want to add about Rhodiola rosa, which it can be stimulating, so definitely avoid taking it before bedtime. It's more of a daytime supplement.
Yeah.
Nilha? Yeah. I've done that. I've made that mistake myself. So
yeah.
Note to listeners.
Yeah, that's a good tip. And another tip from our previous episode was I discovered that when we were preparing for the episode, that we may see ashwagandha and rhodiola in the same supplement. I think that's nonsense, because rhodiola is a stimulant and ashwagandha is just the opposite. So they're calming. So you're trying to neutralize. I mean, maybe there are studies that they work synergistically, like caffeine and L-theanine, but something that I've never read at the moment.
Me neither.
So we recommend that taking them separately, even though we covered them together. So
yes.
I'm going to go to the next nootropic, which is L-tyrosine. L-tyrosine is an amino acid and it's used throughout the nervous system. You may recognize it as an ingredient that is used in many energy drinks. As a natural precursor of catecholamine neurotransmitters, L-tyrosine plays a key role in sustaining cognitive alertness and clarity under conditions of high stress and activity. Remember that catecholamines, these are dopamine, norepinephrine, facilitate positive mood and focus. So when stress-related activities deplete your catecholamine levels, so too does your cognitive performance drop off. Athletic feats that require heightened levels of attention, awareness, and multitask processing, even in the face of environmental distractions and bodily discomfort, may improved by L-tyrosine supplementation. By creating a buffer of raw material from which the brain can produce neurotransmitters, L-tyrosine supplementation may prevent depletion associated with stress. L-tyrosine has also improved cognitive performance by modulating the body's physical response to stress. In a 1999 military study of cadets on a combat training course, subjects taking L-tyrosine supplementation had significantly lower systolic blood pressure than those receiving placebo and performed better on memory and tracking tasks. For athletes, particularly sleep-deprived college athletes, I think I can include adults to here as well.
Yeah, probably.
Pandemic, epidemic, sleep deprivation. Supplementing L-tyrosine may work as sort of clutch performance enhancer. While athletic opponents tire out, losing their focus and composure late in the match, L-tyrosine keeps your cognitive performance fresh from start to finish. To increase mental performance or mitigate the effects of stress, a single daily dose of 500 to 2000 milligrams of L-tyrosine has been shown to be safe and effective. You may supplement this nootropic amino acid both as a pre- and post-workout ingredient. L-tyrosine supplements are also available as N-acetyl L-tyrosine or NALT, a modified form of L-tyrosine with an acetyl group attached to the tyrosine molecule to enhance its bioavailability. NALT is more soluble than the standard form, but has a lower conversion rate in the body, so larger doses may be required. Both forms of the supplement provide the same functions and benefits, so it's important to identify which one works better for you. So maybe required trial and error supported by your healthcare professional. We are going to continue with another herbal nootropic right now.
Yeah. So the next one we have is Panax Ginseng. Panax Ginseng is the dried root of several species of the Panax plant used for centuries in Korean, Chinese, and Japanese medicine. Ginseng is long known as a cognitive enhancer and has been shown to enhance simple reaction time, such as processing speed, meaning your processing speed. Cognitive improvements are particularly apparent in cases of mental fatigue. In a small 2020 study published in Pharmaceutical, they found that traditionally harvested white Panax ginseng resulted in improved attention, memory, and perceived stress in healthy but tired, which most of us are, adults, compared to the effects of non-traditionally harvested red Panax ginseng and a placebo. Ginseng's effects on the human body can be described as adaptogenic. It increases the physical and mental resilience of our bodies. It eliminates fatigue and it helps the body to adapt to the current needs. It's believed that Panax ginseng has two mechanisms. One, it stops the breakdown of neurotransmitters so that they can continue to work in our body. And it also is believed to increase the amount of nitric oxide in the bloodstream, thus improving blood flow and vasodilation. It's recommended to use a standardized ginseng dose at a dose of 200 milligrams per day over an extended period of time. Standardized refers to the content of genocides, which usually ranges from 1.5 to 7%. Alternatively, a half a mil, or sorry, 0.5 to 2 grams of dried root per day is recommended. And ginseng can be taken as a tea, a supplement, or even chewed as the root. It is especially important to note that ginseng is contraindicated in patients with acute asthma and hypertension. Large doses can cause excessive body stimulation, restlessness, insomnia, increased blood pressure, nervousness, headaches, and nosebleeds. And more research is needed to determine the long-term benefits of Panax ginseng. So our next neurotropic will probably surprise you because it's one of the most commonly used ergogenic supplements, and it's usually known for its effects on increasing lean body mass. We covered this supplement in season 1, episode 2. So Neelham, I'll let you release the answer.
I think our listeners, our fan base may guess it correctly. It's creatine.
It's not caffeine. I think it's not caffeine.
This time it's creatine. It's our second supplement that we covered in our first season. Creatine has brain enhancing benefits in contrast to what it's known usually for just pump up your muscles. In fact, a 2018 systematic review in experimental gerontology found that creatine supplementation improved short-term memory, intelligence, and reasoning. There is compelling data that creatine helps with cognitive processing, brain function, and recovery from trauma. According to a 2021 review in Nutrients, this is especially true in the case of diminished levels of creatine in the brain caused by stressors like exercise, lack of sleep, conditions like brain injury, concussions, aging, depression, and Alzheimer's disease. So I think those who are receiving creatine are not aware, but they are getting its nootropic and brain protective function. So we think creatine can be a good supplement to include with its also nootropic properties. Our next one, which I'm also very curious for, is alpha GPC. Jess, do you want to take it away?
Yeah. So alpha GPC, and pardon me as I try and give you the actual correct chemical name, is L-alpha glycerol phosphorylcholine. Oh my gosh, I can't say that. So it's a natural choline compound. We just call it alpha CGP because it's so much easier to say, but it's a natural choline compound found in the brain that has been studied for its potential to treat Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. Alpha CGP's mechanism has been extensively studied and is well understood on how it affects some of the okay, let me try that again. Sorry.
No problem.
Alpha CGP's mechanism of action has been extensively studied and are well understood, though how it affects some neuronal functions remains unclear. Alpha CGP has choline in its structure, which is essential for the brain's production of acetylcholine, which is our learning neurotransmitter, and it's crucial to all aspects of cognition. Its function is at the heart of the alpha CGP's neurotropic properties, which can treat memory loss and cognition defects related to neurological disorders. When taken as a supplement, alpha CGP is absorbed into the bloodstream and crosses the blood-brain barrier, which means our brain can use it. In terms of athletic performance, alpha CGP effectively increases lower body force production after 6 days of supplementation, according to studies. There was a pilot study that indicated that 600 milligram dose of alpha CGP taken 90 minutes before bench pressing increased the power of the athlete by 14%. Another small study involving only 8 healthy individuals, men under the age of 25, showed that a single dose of alpha CGP increased growth hormone secretion and hepatic fat oxidation, both of which are associated with increased energy and reduced recovery time. I think the thing to note on this is it was a really small study, but definitely interesting. The studies here suggest that adding alpha CGP to speed and power athletes' diet can enhance their muscle performance. For most adults, acceptable range are fairly wide. The cumulative daily dose is anywhere between 300 to 1200 milligrams, taken in 1 to 3 doses, have been documented as safe and effective. Alpha CGP is generally well tolerated when taken at recommended doses. We want to take a moment and talk on neurotropics that have also are banned substances, and they can be found in many neurotropic properties, both labeled and adulterated, meaning they're in the product, but they're actually not on the label. So Neelham, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, absolutely. This is where we would like to have athletes making informed choices, safe and informed choices. And I would like to start with phenylpiracetam. Phenylpiracetam is a derivative of piracetam, which is the first nootropic ever created. It increases choline uptake and stimulates acetylcholine receptors in the brain to improve memory and learning. Phenylpiracetam also works as an anxiolytic, decreasing anxiety and improving mood. Phenylpiracetam is banned by the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA. Athletes must use caution in purchasing nootropic if not certified by IC or NSF or other third-party testing agencies, as there is always a risk of contamination or the addition of products like phenylpiracetam to improve effectiveness of the product while not being listed on the ingredients. We mentioned this several times. Additionally, reputable dietary supplements will have a third-party laboratory evaluate the product to ensure you get what's advertised on the bottle. Common third-party laboratories include Inform Sport, Cologne NIST, NSF International, US Pharmacopoeia, Consumer Lab, and more, and will be labeled on the bottle with its logo. Now we have touched on many nootropics. We also want to jump to that are prescription only and also banned substances due to them giving athletes unfair advantages. What about the next one?
Yeah. So pharmaceutical neurotropics have been used to treat neurocognitive and neurobehavior disorders such as dementia, Alzheimer's, narcolepsy, attention deficit hyper disorder, which is ADHD, and many more. So the first one I want to talk about is Provigil, brand name Provigil or Modafidel. Modafidel is a powerful wakeful promoting hormone that has been shown to improve cognitive function and vigilance. Researchers originally designed Modafidel as a narcolepsy treatment, but now people commonly use it or abuse it to improve cognitive function. It's worth noting that this is a banned substance on the WADA list. There are others, and the big class is stimulants. And common names that many people will think of are going to be like Adderall, Ritalin, methylphenidate, Vyvanse. Any of those are going to be your stimulants. And for the last 20 years, a lot of people, especially students, have turned to these ADHD drugs for their concentration strengthening effects. Stimulant medications are used as first-line treatment for ADHD, but are listed on the WADA prohibited drug list. In almost every sport or activity, the improved attention and focus has the potential to increase an individual's performance. So that is why it is listed on the prohibited drug list. It is also, there are risks to the athlete, health risk. With that in mind, the use of stimulant medications for the lack of attention or focus after an ADHD requires an extremely high level of scrutiny in accordance with the best clinical practices to avoid abuse in sports and to receive a therapeutic exemption when necessary. So these are medications that are banned. They do have cognitive benefits and neurotropic benefits, especially for athletes, but there are ways, if you do have a diagnosis of ADHD, that you can receive a TUE for these medications. But there will be some scrutiny as you submit all the paperwork. So Neelham, anything you want to add or talk about with banned neurotropics being banned in sport?
Yeah, because not all nootropics are banned in sport, so it's important to mention these non-banned ones, also re-emphasize the banned ones and why they are banned. The World Anti-Doping Agency is responsible for establishing and maintaining a list of prohibited substances and methods in sports. This list includes many performance-enhancing drugs, including certain nootropics, which you have just mentioned. You mentioned modafinil. It's a prescription drug to treat narcolepsy. It's on the WADA prohibited list. It has been shown to have cognitive enhancing properties. It's sometimes used off-label as a nootropic. Other substances that are prohibited include amphetamines, which are sometimes used as cognitive enhancers, and methylphenidate, which you have just mentioned, another prescription drug used to treat ADHD. These are prohibited in competition. However, athletes should consult to their national anti-doping agencies or federations, as they may have different rules with regards to use of in competition or out of competition. And it's important to note that not all nootropics are banned in sports. For example, nature nootropics, most of nootropics we covered in this episode, such as Rhodiola rosea, Bacopa, L-theanine, or Panax Ginseng, are not on the WADA prohibited lists. It is also important to note that just because a substance is not on the WADA prohibited list, it doesn't mean that it's safe or legal to use. Sports organizations may ban some substances or governing bodies, even if they are not on the WADA prohibited list. In addition to the use of any substance, whether it's a banned substance or not, they carry other risks. It's important for athletes to consult with a healthcare professional or a sports pharmacist before using any nootropics or other supplements to ensure that any supplement used are legal and safe and are not other toxic, unapproved, or banned substances. Read the label, and sometimes it's good to consult to a physician or pharmacist, particularly pharmacists, because we are a good consulted resource for knowing which supplement may be safer, may have better quality or not. So in those cases, it's better not to take risk, even if you're a professional athlete or not. Nootropics offer an exciting avenue for athletes looking to optimize their performance, both mentally and physically. We hope that you get excited with the benefits they provide, but it's essential to approach them with caution, ensuring that they align with your athletic goals and are permissible by governing sport bodies. And remember, while supplements can provide you an edge, nothing replaces hard work, dedication, and proper training. Stay safe, train hard, and maybe with the help of nootropics, you may achieve your personal bests, your PBs. Jess, would you like to wrap up today's episode with your take-home messages for our listeners?
Yeah, I think a couple of the take-home points is one, that the future research regarding nootropics should focus on experiments with more diverse humans in terms of like age, gender, if you're healthy, if you're not healthy, weight, athletic performance. So most of the studies we do find are on patients with already cognitive issues or high stress. So looking at a more healthy population. It should also study on young, healthy patients, mostly around like universities, who actually use these substances a lot. And furthermore, already advanced methods for neuroimaging could be helpful so that more experiments can be done to confirm or refute the potential benefits of these nootropics. I also think one thing is making sure that you are touching base on with a pharmacist or your healthcare provider on making sure you're getting an effective dose, whether that some people often take too little or some take too much and they get side effects, but making sure you're taking an effective dose and at the right time, like the point we spoke to earlier on Rhodiola rosea being stimulating, so not taking it before bedtime. So I think that is also a big take-home point on the use of nootropics. I think whether you're a professional athlete or a casual enthusiast, nootropics can help you stay on top of your game. With continued use over time, they can even help you improve long-term cognitive health and possibly reduce your risk of age-related cognitive decline. So if you're looking for an edge in the gym or on the field, Nootropics that we covered here may be something you want to look into. I think that there's so many out there. It does take a informed consumer to go through all of it, look at it, speak with a provider, because there are so many products on the market that market themselves as cognitive enhancement, performance enhancing, all of that, that you do need to make sure that it is something that is actually effective at an effective dose in order for you to see the benefits.
Yeah, great messages. I think combining these with all the nootropics we shared, we believe that athletes are be more readier
Yeah.
on choices. So we are sports pharmacists, and our mission is to provide accurate and evidence-based information to optimize your health and performance when it comes to your health and well-being choices. As we always say, consult with your physician or pharmacist, prioritize safety, and always make informed decisions. Thank you for joining us today on our very first episode of Season 2. We look forward to sharing more valuable scientific and actionable insights in our next episode.